Hello, everyone. My name is Pastor George, but for the next 4 or 5 minutes or whatever, I'm going to be your dungeon master today as we talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, the famous or sometimes infamous role playing game. Now, what is Dungeons and Dragons? Dungeons and Dragons is a role playing game, which means that when you play it, you take on the role of a character, right? It's kind of like gaming and acting come together, and you play this character and you go on adventures with your friends, and there's someone called a dungeon master that oversees it and plays and makes up the story and stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'd recommend playing it if you never have and if you like rolling dice and tabletop games and stuff. But why am I talking about it for our Culture Thursdays? Well, besides the fact that it is a cultural juggernaut and has become more popular, which has been crazy to see over the last 5 years or so, is the fact that it actually has a history with Christianity. And what is that history? Well, some of you who were alive in the 1970s and the 1980s may have heard of Dungeons and Dragons before. And I know that some of you have because I got a comment about it after our Christmas service where I talked about Dungeons and Dragons in the children's service that day. And the history, or supposed history, between Christianity and Dungeons and Dragons is the belief that Dungeons and Dragons is satanic, right? So in the 1980s, stories began to spread of these nerds that would coop themselves in rooms and not, really interact with the outside world, where they would talk about like casting spells and being wizards and stuff like that. And eventually it morphed into some very sensational stories put out by the news media and stuff about people being killed over Dungeons and Dragons. And so you had many famous Christian people speak up against Dungeons and Dragons and say that, you shouldn't play it or be near it because it is a it's like communing with Satan, right? One of the most famous Jack Chick tracks, if you don't know who Jack Chick is, he's this famous Christian illustrator who wrote a lot of tracts that people would hand out, and they're known for being like very fundamentalist and very kind of over the top. And he did one on Dungeons and Dragons, where it's a Dungeons and Dragons is a way that people get into like witchcraft and stuff like that. And so I've been asked by people in the past about, isn't it like bad that you do this as not only as a pastor but as a Christian, that you play this game, right? And I say it's only bad because it's nerdy. It's not bad because it's satanic, right? It's kind of an embarrassing thing, although I guess it's, now that everyone's doing it, it's less embarrassing. So I put up with all that bullying for years for nothing, just to watch normal people enjoy what I hold dear. I think it's good that more people are getting into it, but it is not really related to anything, right? The story that you make up with your friends can be as simple as slaying a dragon or whatever. And if it is dark, it's dark because the people make it that way. It's not that way naturally. And so I'm just here to make a somewhat of a full-throated defense of Dungeons and Dragons and say that it doesn't have anything to do with Satan or witchcraft or anything like that. In fact, one of the enemies you often fight are like devils and demons and things like that. So they're the bad guys in this too. So I would just like to say that it doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft or demons. So if, anyone plays it, don't worry about them unless they give you other reasons to worry about them. And who knows, maybe give it a shot on your own time. Maybe some of you have played it. Maybe we can start a church game of it. I know the young adults have asked for that, and I'm starting to put it together. But it's not here yet. Anyway, that's Dungeons and Dragons. It's been a pleasure being your Dungeon Master for the last few minutes, and I will see you guys tomorrow for our Mailbag Friday. Peace out.